Hey, does Santa know where you guys are at? That was super cool. Oh my gosh. They're just cruising down the road, doing their own thing, staying in their lane, by the way. That's the lane they're supposed to be in. And for the record, the insulation has been removed from the back seat. I just put it in the trailer. There's no reason to pull it out of there. I knew that if I put it in the cabin, it was just going to be a mess. And I didn't want to store it outside because I knew it'd get wrecked. So yeah, I'm headed to town now, pick up a few things, stop off at the dumps. That was just awesome though. Caribou right there in town. Very cool. So that's where Bob Ross got his colors for the sky. He started painting in Alaska. Sunset is absolutely gorgeous tonight. That is glorious. Right. Maybe I should have made the 2 cups. Making some off-grid waffles this morning. Probably one of the greatest inventions I think I ever bought was this. I don't know what it's called right now. It's like a Viking, I think is the name. But it's for making waffles right on the stovetop. So I don't have a waffle maker and I like waffles. My only negative reaction to the whole thing is that it's the big Belgian waffles, and I'm not really a big fan of Belgian waffles. So I have to cook it a little bit longer. I like my waffles on the crisp side. I thought this week we'd do something a little bit different. You know, for those of you that are new here or just watch this video because of the title, I am Sean in Alaska, and I built this cabin off-grid with zero experience. I mean, zero, none. And I thought that I would walk through what kind of appliances you'll need, or what kind of appliances you should probably look at for an off-grid cabin situation that will make your life a lot more comfortable. And trust me, my life was not as comfortable as it is now. Lately, my life has gotten a lot more comfortable. So I'm going to have breakfast, and when I'm done, we'll go ahead and get together. I'm going to walk you through the electrical system that I have here for the cabin. I'm going to show you the original electrical system that I was using, and then I'm going to show you the upgraded electrical system that I was using. The original will probably be just a couple of pictures. And then we'll discuss why I went the direction that I went with the appliances that I have in here. Because I think that there's a bunch of different schools of thought on how you could do it. Anyway, I'm going to cook myself some breakfast up here, and then we'll get back together. God, I love waffles. That's a beautiful little waffle. So everybody has their own definition of what being off-grid means. This is not to discuss that at all, but what you're comfortable with in levels of being off-grid can change. So when I started this whole adventure, I was completely happy with having a camp stove inside the cabin and having an ice chest that I use for my refrigerator. But the longer that I was in here, I found that I was wasting a ton of money on buying ice, and I was wasting even more money on the amount of food that would spoil and what I could keep here. Now, I work at a grocery store full time, so I'm at work Monday through Friday, and I can pick up whatever I need fresh and bring it home. So, you know, it wasn't that big of a deal to me. But one of the things I missed the most was being able to bake things and cook things with more than 2 burners. And I'm a single guy doing this. So you have multiple options when it comes to off-grid appliances. But I will tell you right now that if you see the word off-grid appliance in the title of any appliance, you're going to pay anywhere from $500 to $1,000 more for it than you need to pay. So my first rule of thumb would be avoid anything that says off-grid followed by refrigerator, freezer, stove, any of that stuff. I'll add a caveat to that right now. unique brand appliances are absolutely gorgeous. And if money was no object, I might buy them just sheerly for the beauty. But I don't have an endless bank account, and I need this to make sense to me financially and long term. So let me show you what the very first and most important thing I think that I needed to get into this lifestyle was. And that would be my oven, my stove. So when I first moved to Alaska, I lived in a motorhome, then a fifth wheel, both of which had an oven. And the thing that bothered me the most about that was the burners on the top were way too small to really do anything. And I've got all these on here right now just to give you an idea of what kind of room you can expect from a real sized oven. There's no way I could put all these on top of my stove, on top of my RV or camper stove or oven. That was the first thing. The second thing was this is a 30-inch, 4.8 cubic foot full oven. I can bake anything in this. I could do full turkeys, full roasts. I could do anything. And to me, that was very important, even though I'm a single guy by myself. I like good food. And I have family that comes up and visits me, and I want to be able to throw everything in the oven and have a nice big meal for everybody included. This is what is called a battery ignition oven, battery ignition stove. And by that, I mean that everything that works on here works via a 9-volt battery in the bottom. So turn it on, ignites right off the bat, okay? Really good control all the way around. Same thing with the oven. So a lot of propane stoves that you will buy, or natural gas stoves that you will buy, if they are not battery ignition, you could probably use the burners on top just by lighting them manually with a match, but you can't use the oven because the oven is an electronic ignition. And that requires 110, 120 volts to be able to operate. This requires no electricity whatsoever. And the nice thing is it's a pretty basic model, right? But it's only going to cost, I think this was roughly $650. I think they're on sale now because I was just looking for some information on adjusting temperatures on this. And I just saw them on the Orange store. And you'll be able to figure out what I'm talking about. But any box store right now, and they're running about $400 or $550 right now. Nothing can really go wrong with this. You don't have to worry about the power being out. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But more importantly, when you're off grid, you don't have to worry about your battery draining because you're using your oven or stove, and you don't have to fire up your generator just to make your oven work. This one piece has made my life so much more simple. It's incredible. I should add too that, and we'll get more into the electrical discussion here in a couple of minutes, that if, in the morning when you're going to make coffee, if you're a coffee drinker like I am, you could choose to use your pod coffee maker, or you could use your regular Mr. Coffee or whatever you have for it. But the amount of watts you're going to burn for that is just crazy. It is just incredible. So I choose instead to use a French press, right? And I take it one step further and I buy whole beans and I grind my own beans for my own coffee every single morning. It's a nice little ritual for me. I work full time, so I'm only making coffee on Saturdays and Sundays, basically. Occasionally in the evenings, I might make a cup, but I can make whatever I want. I could do it on top of this stove, and it doesn't cost me any electricity whatsoever. And more importantly than that, the coffee's delicious. So, battery ignition stove, right? Every one of these burners ignites via the 9-volt battery, and then your oven comes on as well. By holding it in, it ignites the burner on the bottom, and then you're good to go. It's got a full-time pilot light that's running in there right now. Let me drop the camera down, or I'll use the cell phone to show you a couple more of the features on here real quick before we step on to the next thing. That simple. Never have to worry about it. If your battery goes dead, you can manually light that, but it's just a 9-volt battery that's located down here on the bottom of the stove. And the oven's going right now, but this is what I'm talking about by the size of an oven. It's just absolutely huge. All right, you can cook just about anything you want in that oven. So this oven with full-time use, and I use it 7 days a week. I'm cooking food in here or heating something up in here or heating up water for dishes. is connected via just your regular standard connection, but it goes through the wall to a regulator outside where I have 2 of the 20-pound or 5-gallon, as I call them, RV or barbecue bottles of propane that you can get refilled. One of those bottles will last me probably 2.5 months. So really, really efficient for the amount of time that you're going to use it. I have 2 100-pound bottles up at the front, but winter hit before I could get everything plumbed that I wanted to do. But eventually everything will come off of the 100-pound bottles that'll be up in the front. Super, super efficient. Like I said, right now on sale, I think for $5.50. They go on sale all the time. This one is a Hot Point by GE. And they make other models. Premier makes one, but that's an more expensive model as well. And then, of course, Unique Brands if you want to spend that kind of money. By all means, you could go with just an RV oven in here, but I guarantee you that this is a whole lot better than an RV oven stove combination because I've lived with both, and it's just nice to have a full-size one. So, spinning our way around the kitchen a little bit before we get to the things that are going to be expensive to operate, but I think we'll have a good idea. Let me get my cell phone out and I'll show you some of the other things here. And I'll show you where I have the tank hooked up out for this in a minute too. So there's what I was talking about with the pipe coming out the wall there, and then runs down to the regulator, which is behind the 2 tanks. And that is an automatic switching regulator. So when one tank runs out, it automatically switches over to the other, and the 2 barbecue bottles. And roughly they cost, like I said, $17.50 each to fill when they're empty. So $34. 35 bucks. I'm all about the counter space. To me, I don't know what happened, but at some point in history, kitchens went from being an area where many things were done and created to an area that everybody thought needed to look pretty. And this is how far I am with my kitchen so far. I built those cabinets by hand. There's a video for that. Then I bought this cabinet for my sink, which is amazing because I don't have running water. And then I bought these cabinets for underneath. And I had actually had my old folding table sitting right here. And then these are all butcher block countertops. The most recent addition to this is the backsplash on the back there. And that's just select pine that I picked up for almost nothing. I'm going to put a coat of oil on that today. I'm also going to be bottling that up. That is 5 gallons of beer. Because my whole journey here is to get more self-sufficient. And I used to be a brewer for years and I really enjoy it. So let's talk about sinks. Okay, so where do you do your dishes? You have two options as far as I'm concerned for doing dishes. One, you install a sink. 2, you do it in a plastic tote. I have done it both ways. I am so thankful to have the sink now. It is just awesome. So I do not yet have running water. What I end up doing is, bear with me here, I'll spin this around. I heat up water right here. I fill up this side of the sink with the soapy water and all the dishes that need to be done. I'll be doing dishes later on today. I scrub everything off and move it over to that side. All right. And then I have a water container. Let me put it here now so that you'll be able to see it. There is the water container. So when I'm done washing all my dishes, I then bring everything back over here with this laid down and the valve slightly cocked open, rinse everything off and go to the drainer. Believe me, this is so much easier. So where does the water go? Because I live dry. This is a dry cabin and I have to haul water. I have no well yet. I have eventual goals, eventual plans of getting a well. All the water drains out of the sink into a Homer bucket. Super simple. And then when I'm done doing dishes, I just take the bucket out, swish it around a little bit, pour it out in the forest. So I never have to worry about how I'm going to get rid of water. Make sure I put it back so that if I'm pouring anything down through the sink during the week, that's not a big deal. But yeah, I will be cleaning dishes today. So that is the basics of, to me, the easy appliances, right? So $550. The counters were rather expensive, but I really wanted butcher block, and I cut those myself and installed them. The sink I got off of Facebook Marketplace, and I actually ended up getting it for free. It never cost me anything at all, including the faucet and everything that goes with it. And then, like I said, to be able to do my dishes, I use the water that I haul. Just rinse it off after I boil the water on the stove. So, I mean, your kitchen could be as detailed or as basic as possible, and mine's pretty basic. The other thing I should probably point out is that I have LED RV lights, 1, 2, 3 right now, and these run off a 12-volt battery, or off my 12-volt system. And
I could leave these lights on for weeks and they would never drain the battery. It is amazing how cool they are. And the nice thing I like about it too is right now they're all independently set up. I could run them on a switch, but I could also dim them. Right? Let's put it back up here. I can go low to high. And there's 4 stages of dimming that I could use in there if I want. But it really brightens up the kitchen all the way around. Now let's talk about the expensive thing. And that's the refrigerator. And it's not the cost of the refrigerator, because this refrigerator cost me, I want to say, right around $500. And this is a brand new Visani 19.1 cubic foot refrigerator freezer. And man, it sure is nice having a freezer. I will tell you, it is incredible having a freezer. Oh, I forgot I had those bottles in there. I can yank those out. It is awesome having a refrigerator. It is phenomenal having all of these things. And to me, it just makes everything in the kitchen that much better. This takes you from, I live in an off-grid dry cabin, to, hey, I have a pretty nice place to live. I have a nice place to call home. So let me show you why this is expensive to begin with, but why it, I think, becomes cheaper in the long run to go with a regular residential refrigerator as opposed to one of the Unique brands. So like I said, this is 19.1 cubic feet. Okay, so that's 19.1 cubic feet, and it cost me, I think, $4.99, $4.88 was the total price for it. So I'm going to use old Dr. Google here, and I'm going to search for Unique refrigerator. And we'll go to shopping. And a Unique Classic Retro 17.7 cubic foot refrigerator that operates on propane or electricity is $3,000. So I could buy 6 of those for the same price that I could buy 1 of those. A regular 11.7 cubic foot is $1,500. 10 cubic foot is $2,000. I'm trying to get one that's closer to size. Okay, here's a basic 19.2. Oh no, that's a 6 cubic foot. That's not what I want. Unique appliances. Okay, here's a 17.7 for $3,000, and here's a 21.4. No, that's not it either. I mean, basically, you can get the point. It's thousands of dollars. On top of that, if you're going to run a propane refrigerator, there is some maintenance that is required. But also, more importantly than that, is propane is required. So every time you add to the level of what you're going to use propane for, you're going to increase your propane costs. I'm a huge proponent of using propane wherever I can. For me, refrigeration, it just didn't make any sense. I can store a whole bunch of stuff in here, and it maintains the temperature very, very well. And I will say that the off-grid Unique, and I'm using Unique as a brand name, and that is what it is. It's a brand name. Is a very well-built unit. It is a very awesome refrigeration. They make freezers. They're top-notch. They're super good quality. But I still have to buy propane for them. And, you know, I have to pay for the refrigerator a lot more. I have to buy propane for them. And there are other things in my cabin that I'm going to use electricity for. So if I'm going to have an electrical system anyway, why not make it big enough to be able to run a refrigerator? I could not run this refrigerator until I upgraded my system. I'm going to show you the upgraded system right now, and tell you that with the current system of electrical that I have here in the cabin, with the current battery system that I have, because batteries are obviously your most expensive thing on any off-grid system, I can run this refrigerator for 9 days without charging my batteries before my batteries fail completely. I use lithium iron phosphate batteries. So I run my generator to top those batteries off right now because it's winter in Alaska. Obviously, we don't get a whole lot of sunlight this time of year. And I run my generator at the most 3 days a week, maybe using 3 gallons a week. So if I were to run a propane refrigerator here, propane up here, the cheapest place I can get it is $3.69, basically a pound. So to fill up one of those barbecue bottles to 4.5 gallons, which is what I use, it's about $17. Or I can run the electrical and still have electrical for everything else that I need in the cabin, as long as I don't get carried away. And I could do that for, what did I say, 3 gallons at, say, let's call it $3.50 a gallon. So there's 3, 6, 9, $10.50, roughly a week to run the refrigerator here and everything else. So my electrical bill would run about, I don't know, not even $50 a month, if all I did was used the propane generator to top off my batteries. Solar, I'm getting deeper into this spring. I have plans of putting in a full solar system that will charge everything up, so I won't have to worry about that for a while. But let me show you the system that backs up the refrigerator and how simple it really is. I say it in every video, but excuse the mess because this is obviously still a work in progress. But these are the batteries that run my refrigeration. And these are Vader 300 amp hour 12.8 volt batteries. I have 2 of them. So I have 600 amp hours of battery storage here. These run, I just looked at their website. Right now, they're $600 each. So when you think about it, that's really not a bad price for something that will last you many, many years. I've had these in use now for about 2 months, 2.5 months. And they're guaranteed basically for 5,000 life cycles. I'm not even at 10 cycles of the battery yet, of either one of these batteries. So these are what power my entire system. They go into a bus bar, right? Positive and negative bus bar. These run to an inverter, 2200 watt inverter, which runs all the refrigeration for the cabin, and a 12 volt block. And all of my lighting is 12 volts. So the lights go to there, everything else goes to here. And I have this cord run up through the top, and that is what, I don't know if you can see it or not, the refrigerator is plugged into. You can't really see it back there. But that runs the whole system. Hang on one second here. So when this is running, and I love this inverter, this is a G&Del 2200 pure sine wave inverter with a solar controller. If you are going to run any modern electronics, make sure that you have a pure sine wave inverter. What I like about this is it tells me the voltage of my batteries right now. They're 13.2. And it tells me my draw right now, which is 0. And I'll try and turn this on to show you what we're talking about as we get, if that refrigerator kicks on while we're in here. The only other thing I will say is that if you have a 300 amp hour battery, you need a decent battery charger. This is a 14.6 LifePo 80 amp battery charger. And the reason why you need a bigger battery charger is, I think you can do the math. If you're putting 10 amps into that battery and you got to replace 300 amps of it, it's going to take you 30 hours to do that when you're running a generator. Do the math and figure out what it's going to take you if you've got 80 amps. It's going to take 3 hours roughly to top off a full battery. And I'm topping off 2 batteries at once because of the way that my system's configured. So this system powers everything that's electrical in my house. And then, for future reference, I've got the solar charge controller. I've got the solar panels with power coming in, but at this point, I'm not drawing much in the way of that. So my battery comes in right over where you see the foam there. Let's see if I can get my foot over there. Right where you see the foam coming up, my battery comes in, or my generator cord comes in from there. It goes to a splitter here. The black cord goes to the battery charger, and the blue cord goes to what I originally used to power this entire cabin with. This is an 1800 watt OPS solar generator, they call them. Basically, it's an all-in-one battery with a charge controller. It's lithium iron phosphate as well, so you can run this thing down to 0. I ran almost all of my electrical needs off of this when I first got in here. I still use this whenever I'm doing video editing because obviously I'm a YouTube creator, and this is where my desk and my power controls are. So I've got all my hard drives and everything else connected up to it. Got my laptop connected to it. My desk is always a mess. And then I've got my 32-inch monitor up there that I use not only when I'm editing, but when I want to watch a movie or something like that. Because, when you're off grid, you can only be entertained so much. Every once in a while, you just need your mind to melt. At least I do. And that's what I use that for. That TV uses 20 watts of power off of the inverter. Last night I was actually running the TV all by itself just to see what it would use. So I wasn't using the OPS because I need to get that thing topped off. And it was only drawing 20 watts. So that all runs through this extension cord right here and comes down. As you can see, I actually have Romex wired here because I'm planning on putting in a box back behind here where everything will be powered off of those batteries. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. But back to the refrigerator. Like I said, 9 days of power on this for the cost of $10.50 a week or $50 a month. And that is only during winter months when I have to run the generator. Other than that, this thing pretty much is power free. So let's say 4 months out of the year, 5 months out of the year, I have to run that refrigerator with a generator. We're talking about, and that's right now, that's before I get the big solar system installed. So, I mean, basically we're talking $250 a year to run that. So let's call it $240 because that math works out easier. $20 a month is all it costs me to run a residential refrigerator. Again, there's a lot of different things you can do on that. You can go as fancy as you want, you can go as expensive as you want, or you can go as simple as you want. But I think that if you're going to get into the realm of having an actual refrigerator in your house, and you want to be frugal about it, I think this is the cheapest way that you can go. I'm already looking at putting a chest freezer in as well, a smaller one, because obviously I live in Alaska and I get a lot of salmon during the summer and I want to be able to keep it on hand and keep it kind of separate from my everyday use in the freezer. But I think you can see now why I went with a residential type of refrigerator as opposed to the fancy off-grid ones. Again, if you're going to buy an appliance for your cabin and you're off-grid, don't really look at anything that has the name off-grid in the title of the appliance, because I'm sure you can find that appliance without that off-grid moniker in it for a whole lot less. A lot of stuff comes up for sale on Marketplace, especially up here in Alaska. I jokingly say a lot of times that this is the cabin that Marketplace built. I just saw this countertop. Somebody was trying to sell one for like half price, so they bought it. They decided they didn't want it or didn't need it, and they're trying to sell it because they'd already opened the package. They didn't want to take it back for like half price. You can buy all kinds of stuff on there. But you could get as fancy as you want or as frugal as you want. And I choose to go on the frugal side, the cheap side. I am cheap. And I'm not interested in putting in stuff that I really don't need. I don't have an electric coffee pot, but if you want one, that would be a drain on your battery system as well. I don't have any of the fancy electrical appliances. I don't have air fryers or anything like that. I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy. I cook food the old-fashioned kind of way. And I don't mind the whole process of making a meal. But I think you can see how much simpler this is doing it this way. So not counting well, I guess we should count the batteries. So those batteries at $600 each. So that's $1,200. Let's call this combination here $1,200. So that's $2,400. And then let's call the entire electrical system that I have, plus the wiring that's coming out to here, let's call that another $600 with everything else that that we've got there. And for $3,000, you can have a fully functional kitchen in an off-grid cabin in the middle of nowhere. I'm Sean in Alaska. I hope this video answered some questions for you. If you've got any questions for me, by all means, leave a comment down below. I'm more than happy to try and answer them for you. I'm not an expert on this. I'm pretty much 100% self-taught. I've talked to a lot of different people for solar, and I've watched a ton of videos on solar. And some friends of mine, Jay and Jen Off Grid, Jay's been super helpful to me as far as solar goes. I have family members that are electricians, so they've talked me through a lot of this stuff. But once you get over that initial hump of how to wire for solar, it starts to become easier and easier exponentially as you go. So, like I said, if you've got any questions, leave them down below in the comments. I'm Sean in Alaska. I got to bottle up a batch of beer here. This is what I'll call a West Coast wheat beer. So it's an American-style wheat beer with a little West Coast fling to it, and that'll be in a future video coming up. Have a great day, guys. We shall talk to you later. I told you I would record this when I saw it came back on. So it's only drawing 80 watts right now. But it draws quite a few amps on there, which is why I need... I mean, I think of everything now in solar as amp hours over watt hours, just because it kind of works better in my head that way. Basically, 12 volts converting over to 120 is going to be, for 100 watts, it's going to roughly be 10 amps.